I, 29F, found out my husband, 31M, cheated on me with our wedding photographer, and I just discovered she's been sending him photos that were never supposed to exist. Our entire marriage might be based on a lie, and I don't know what's real anymore. I'm writing this at 4 a.m. because I can't sleep and I feel like I'm losing my mind. I'm sorry if this is scattered, but I need to get this out, and I desperately need outside perspective because everyone in my life is too close to this situation. My husband Ethan and I have been married for 3 years, together for 6 total. We met in grad school, and it was one of those instant connection situations, same sense of humor, same values, same goals. We got engaged after 3 years of dating, and our wedding was supposed to be the happiest day of our lives. It was beautiful, intimate, exactly what we wanted. A vineyard in Napa, 80 guests, golden hour lighting. Everyone said it was the most romantic wedding they'd ever attended. Our wedding photographer was a woman named Sienna. She was 26 at the time, built a decent reputation shooting weddings around the Bay Area. My best friend had used her and raved about how talented she was, how she captured these candid moments that felt like art. When we met with her for our consultation, she was warm, professional, creative. We loved her vision. We booked her immediately. She spent our entire wedding day with us, from getting ready in the morning until the sparkler exit at night. She was everywhere, blending into the background, capturing every moment. I remember feeling so comfortable with her. She made us laugh during portraits, knew exactly how to pose us, made the whole experience feel effortless. We got our photos back 6 weeks after the wedding, and they were stunning. Absolutely breathtaking. Every image was perfect. The lighting, the composition, the emotion. I cried looking through them. Ethan and I must have spent hours going through the gallery together, reliving the best day of our lives. We ordered a massive album, prints for our parents, a canvas for above our fireplace. Those photos were proof of our perfect love story. That was 3 years ago. Until 4 days ago, I thought my marriage was solid. Not perfect. We've had our struggles like any couple, but fundamentally strong. Ethan is a software engineer who works long hours. I'm a teacher, so my schedule is more predictable. We don't have kids yet, though we've been talking about trying soon. We have a nice apartment in Oakland, 2 cats, a good life. But 4 days ago, everything shattered. I was cleaning out our office closet, looking for our tax documents. In the back, behind a box of old textbooks, I found a shoebox I didn't recognize. It was taped shut. Something told me to open it. Inside were photographs. Not our wedding photos, different ones. Photos I'd never seen before. There were about 40 of them, printed on professional photo paper. And they were all of Ethan and Sienna. Not posed wedding day photos. Intimate photos. Ethan and Sienna kissing. Ethan with his hand on her waist, her head on his shoulder. Them laughing together. One of them in what looked like a hotel room, her in just a shirt, him shirtless. They weren't explicit, but they were undeniably intimate. Undeniably romantic. My hands were shaking so badly, I dropped the box. Photos scattered everywhere. I sat on the floor of our office surrounded by images of my husband with another woman, and I couldn't breathe. The timestamps on the backs of the photos showed dates. The oldest was from our wedding day, the day itself. There was one from the morning after our wedding. Several from the weeks after. The most recent was dated 6 months ago. Our wedding photographer had been sleeping with my husband, possibly starting on our actual wedding day. And she'd been documenting it. I don't know how long I sat there. Eventually, I gathered the photos back into the box with trembling hands. I took pictures of each one with my phone as evidence. Then I hid the box back where I found it. I needed time to think before confronting Ethan. I needed to understand what I was dealing with. I started going through our wedding photos again with new eyes. And suddenly, I saw things I'd missed before. Photos where Sienna had captured Ethan looking at her instead of at me. Photos where his smile seemed directed off camera. A few shots of Ethan alone that felt more intimate than professional, like they were taken by someone who cared about him in a specific way. There was one photo I'd always loved, Ethan during our first dance, looking at something out of frame with this soft, loving expression. I'd assumed he was looking at me, but now I wondered if he'd been looking at her. I felt sick. I wanted to vomit. Our entire wedding, this day I'd treasured as the beginning of our life together, might have been the day he started cheating on me. While I was in my dress, saying vows, promising forever, was he already involved with her? Or did it start that night? That week? I went through our credit card statements going back 3 years. There were charges I'd never questioned before that now seemed suspicious. Hotel rooms when he claimed he was traveling for work. Restaurants in San Francisco on nights, he said, he was working late. A wine tasting in Sonoma I didn't know about. Venmo payments to Sienna with vague captions like, "Thanks for everything," and "for the memories." How had I missed this? How had I been so blind? I also searched for Sienna online. Her photography website is still active, still featuring our wedding prominently in her portfolio. There we are on her homepage, the happy couple, madly in love, blissfully unaware. Looking at those images now feels like looking at strangers. I don't recognize the woman in the white dress who trusted everyone around her. Sienna's Instagram is public. It's mostly professional, wedding photos, engagement shoots, styled shoots. But scrolling back through 3 years of posts, I found a few personal ones. One from 3 years ago, right after our wedding, showing a glass of champagne with the caption celebrating success. One from 2 years ago of a hiking trail with perfect day with my favorite person, and a photo of the back of a man's head. The hair color matches Ethan's. I feel like I'm in a nightmare. Every memory from the past 3 years is now suspect. When Ethan traveled for work, was he really working? When he came home late, where had he been? When we struggled with intimacy last year, and he claimed he was stressed about work, was he actually just getting his needs met elsewhere? I haven't confronted him yet. He doesn't know I found the photos. I've been acting normal for 4 days while internally screaming. We've had dinner together, watched TV together, slept in the same bed. The whole time, I've been looking at him and wondering who he actually is. The man I married or a stranger who's been lying to me for our entire marriage. I'm terrified of confronting him because once I do, there's no going back. Right now, I can still pretend. I can still live in the illusion of my marriage. But once I ask the questions, I'll have to hear the answers. And I don't think I'm ready for what those answers might be. Part of me wants to gather more evidence first, to figure out if it's still going on, to understand the full scope of the betrayal before I show my hand. Part of me wants to throw the photos at him, right now, and demand the truth. Part of me wants to pack a bag and disappear and never have to face any of this. I keep playing out scenarios in my head. Maybe it was just an affair that happened around the wedding and ended years ago. Maybe it's been going on our entire marriage. Maybe they're in love. Maybe I'm the other woman in my own marriage. The worst part is the wedding photos. Every time I look at them now, I see something different. Our first kiss as husband and wife. Was he thinking about her? Our vows, did they mean anything to him? All those moments I thought were ours. Were they performed for an audience of one? I found myself looking at our wedding album last night while Ethan was asleep. There's a photo of me getting ready with my bridesmaids, laughing, completely happy. I looked so innocent.
So trusting.
I want to reach through the photo and warn her. Tell her to run. Tell her that the man she's about to marry is already betraying her. There's another photo. Ethan getting ready with his groomsmen. He looks nervous and excited and perfect in his suit. Was he nervous about marrying me or about juggling whatever was happening with Sienna? Did his groomsmen know? Did anyone know? I called in sick to work yesterday and today. I can't focus. I can't stand in front of 37th graders and pretend everything is fine when my entire world is collapsing. My principal was understanding. I think she could hear in my voice that something was seriously wrong. I've been spending my days going through every photo, every document, every piece of evidence I can find. I created a timeline. I screenshotted everything. I've documented it all. I don't know why, maybe for a divorce lawyer, maybe just to prove to myself that I'm not crazy. I also found receipts for jewelry I never received. Flowers that never arrived at our apartment. Restaurant reservations for 2 on nights Ethan claimed he was working. There's an entire secret relationship documented in our financial records that I never noticed because I trusted him. Because I'm the idiot who believed my husband when he said he loved me. My best friend Maya knows something is wrong. She's been texting me, asking if I'm okay. I want to tell her, but I don't know what to say. Hey, remember how you recommended our wedding photographer? Turns out she's been fucking my husband, potentially, since our wedding day. I can't make those words come out. My parents think we're happy. They're always commenting on our wedding photos on Facebook, talking about what a beautiful couple we are. They ask me at least once a month when we're going to give them grandchildren. The thought makes me want to cry. I was actually going to suggest to Ethan this month that we start trying. Thank God I didn't. I don't know what I'm asking for here. Advice? Validation that I'm not overreacting? Permission to burn his life to the ground? All I know is that I can't keep living like this, pretending everything is fine while I'm dying inside. Tonight, Ethan asked me if something was wrong because I've been quiet. I said I was just tired from work. He hugged me and said he loved me. I stood there in his arms feeling nothing but disgust and betrayal and confusion. Does he love me? Has he ever loved me? What does love even mean to someone who could do this? I think I'm going to confront him this weekend. I can't do this much longer. I need answers, even if they destroy me. I need to know if my entire marriage has been a lie. I need to know if the happiest day of my life was actually the beginning of the worst betrayal I could imagine. I'm sorry this is so long. I just needed to get it all out. If anyone has been through something similar or has advice on how to approach this, I'm desperate to hear it. How do you confront someone about an affair that might have been going on since your wedding day? How do you ask your husband if he was cheating on you while you were saying your vows? And most importantly, if the worst is true, how do I ever trust anyone again? Update 1. Posted 6 days later. I confronted Ethan. I wish I could say it brought clarity, but I'm more devastated than I was before. Thank you to everyone who commented on my original post. Reading your responses helped me find the courage to face this. I couldn't make it to the weekend. The morning after I posted, I woke up and knew I couldn't keep pretending. Ethan was making coffee in the kitchen, scrolling through his phone, acting completely normal. I watched him for a minute from the doorway and felt this wave of rage that I'd been suppressing for almost a week. I walked to the office, got the shoebox of photos, and brought it to the kitchen. I dropped it on the counter in front of him. We need to talk, I said. His face went white when he saw the box. He knew immediately what it was. He didn't even try to play dumb, which somehow made it worse. If he'd been confused or asked what I was talking about, maybe I could have convinced myself there was an explanation. But he just stared at the box and said, "Fuck. Where did you find that?" Not, "What is that?" Not, "I can explain." Just acknowledgement that I'd found a secret. I opened the box and spread some of the photos on the counter. When did it start? I asked. My voice was surprisingly steady. I think I was in shock. He sat down heavily on one of our kitchen stools. He looked at the photos for a long time without speaking. Finally, he said, "Before the wedding." The room tilted. I had to grab the counter to stay standing. Before the wedding. He'd been involved with Sienna before we even got married. While we were planning our wedding, picking flowers and writing vows and sending invitations, he was already cheating on me with the woman we'd hired to document the day. How long before? I managed to ask. We met for the first time about 6 months before the wedding. For the initial consultation, remember? I nodded numbly. We started talking after that. Just as friends at first, about photography and art. It was innocent. When did it stop being innocent? He looked down. About 2 months before the wedding. We met for coffee to go over the timeline for the day, and after, we went back to her place. I had to sit down. 2 months before our wedding. While I was having final dress fittings and seating chart anxiety and bridal showers, he was sleeping with our photographer. Why did you still marry me? I asked. It was the question that had been haunting me. If he wanted someone else, why go through with it? Because I love you, he said, and I actually laughed. It was harsh and bitter, and didn't sound like me at all. You don't cheat on people you love, I said. It wasn't about not loving you. I did love you. I do love you. Sienna it was different. It was exciting and new, and felt separate from my real life. I'm your real life, Ethan. Our marriage is your real life. She's not some alternate universe. She's a person you betrayed me with for 3 years. He flinched. It hasn't been 3 years. Then how long? When did it end? I gestured at the photos. These go back to 6 months ago. It ended about 8 months ago. Those photos from 6 months ago, she sent them to me after we broke up. To remind me of what we had, I guess. My head was spinning. You had a breakup? Like you were in a relationship? He nodded miserably. It was on and off. After the wedding, we tried to stop. I wanted to be a good husband to you. But we kept finding our way back to each other. It would end for a few months, then one of us would reach out, and it would start again. For how long total? On and off for about 2.5 years. 2.5 years. More than half of our marriage. I felt like I might throw up. Does she know you're married? I asked. Of course she knows. She was at our wedding. No. I mean, does she know you're married? Like, does she understand you have a wife you go home to every night? Or did you tell her our marriage was over or that we had some arrangement? He hesitated, which told me everything. I may have implied that things weren't great between us, that we were more like roommates than spouses. Oh my God. I stood up and started pacing. So, she thinks she's your real relationship and I'm the obligation? She thinks she's the girlfriend, and I'm the wife who doesn't understand you. It wasn't like that. What was it like then, Ethan? Explain it to me, because I'm trying really hard to understand how you could do this. He started crying. I'd seen Ethan cry maybe 3 times in 6 years, at his grandfather's funeral, when we got engaged, on our wedding day. Seeing him cry now made me feel nothing. I don't know how to explain it, he said. I love you. I've always loved you. You're my best friend, my partner, the person I want to build a life with. But Sienna, she represented something else. Freedom, maybe? Youth? She thought I was fascinating and talented and exciting. She looked at me like I was the most interesting person in the world. I looked at you like that, I said quietly. I married you thinking you were the most interesting person in the world. I know. And you're amazing. This isn't about you not being enough. This is about me being selfish and weak and making terrible choices. I sat back down, suddenly exhausted. Tell me about the wedding day. What happened? He wiped his eyes. We'd already been seeing each other for 2 months at that point. The night before the wedding, we met up. She was photographing another event nearby, and I told my groomsmen I needed to take a walk to clear my head. I went to see her instead. My rehearsal dinner. While I was celebrating with my family and friends, toasting to our future, he was with her. And the wedding day itself? She was professional during the day. We barely spoke except about photography stuff. But that night, after the sparkler exit after you and I went to our suite, I told you I needed to help the groomsmen pack up some decorations, remember? I remembered. I'd been so exhausted and happy, already half changed out of my dress. He'd kissed me and said he'd be back in 20 minutes. I went to find Sienna. She was packing up her equipment. We talked. And we kissed. Just for a minute. Then I went back to you. I felt like I was going to be sick. On our wedding night, after we'd made love for the first time as husband and wife, he'd gone back downstairs and kissed our photographer. Why do you have these photos? I asked, pointing at the box. Why would she give them to you? Why would you keep them? She took some of them secretly during the wedding, candid shots of me that weren't part of the official package. Some of them we took together later, when we were seeing each other. She gave them to me as a gift at one point. I know I should have thrown them away.
Part of me wanted to.
But part of me... He trailed off. Part of you wanted to remember her. I finished. He nodded.
I'm sorry.
I know that's awful. We sat in silence for several minutes. I looked at our wedding photo on the wall, the one above the fireplace that we see every single day. Every time I look at our wedding photos now, all I see is the lie, I said. You know what the worst part is? In some of them, you're looking at her. Not at me. At her. And I never noticed because I trusted you. I'm so sorry, he whispered. Are you in love with her?
No.
I don't think I ever was. It was infatuation, attraction, escape. But not love. Does she love you? She said she did. That's part of why it ended. She wanted more than I could give her. She wanted me to leave you. When I told her that wasn't happening, she got angry. She threatened to tell you everything. That's when I realized how messed up the whole thing was and ended it for good. So he only ended it when she became inconvenient. When she demanded more than he was willing to risk. Not because he suddenly developed a conscience. Have you been in contact with her since then? She texted me a few times over the past 8 months. I didn't respond. The last time she reached out was about a month ago, asking if I'd reconsidered. I told her to leave me alone, that I was committed to my marriage. A marriage you'd been undermining for 2.5 years. Yes. I looked at him. This man I'd built my life around. This person I thought I knew better than anyone. He looked small and pathetic and unfamiliar. Have there been others? I asked. Or just her? Just her. I swear. Why should I believe anything you say? He had no answer for that. I told him I needed space to think. I asked him to stay somewhere else for a while, his parents, a hotel, wherever. He nodded and started packing a bag. I sat in our living room, numb, while he moved around the apartment gathering his things. Before he left, he stood in the doorway and said, I know I don't deserve it, but I hope you can forgive me someday. I hope we can work through this. I love you so much, and I'll do whatever it takes to fix this. I didn't respond. After he left, I sat on our couch surrounded by our wedding photos and cried for 3 hours straight. That was 4 days ago. Since then, I've been existing in this weird limbo. Ethan is staying with his parents. He's been texting me daily, asking if we can talk, sending long messages about how sorry he is and how he wants to fight for our marriage. I called Maya, my best friend, and told her everything. She came over immediately with wine and takeout and let me cry and rage and talk in circles. She was appropriately horrified, especially since she'd been the one to recommend Sienna. She feels terrible about that, even though obviously it's not her fault. I also contacted a divorce attorney, just to understand my options. She was straightforward. California is a no-fault state, so the affair doesn't matter legally. We'd split our assets 50-50ths. Since we don't have kids or major shared property besides our cars and furniture, it would be relatively simple as far as divorces go. Simple. As if ending a marriage is ever simple. I've been going back and forth constantly. Part of me wants to burn everything down, divorce him, expose them both, make sure everyone knows what they did. Part of me thinks about the 6 years we've had together, the life we've built, the future we'd planned. Can any of that be salvaged? Should it be? I looked at Sienna's website again. She's still using our wedding photos in her portfolio. I'm prominently featured on her homepage, the happy, beautiful, deceived bride. I want to email her, to tell her to take them down, to ask her what she was thinking. But I haven't yet. I also did something potentially stupid. I created a fake Instagram account and messaged her, pretending to be a potential client asking about her experience shooting weddings. She responded within an hour, friendly and professional, sending me her price list and availability. She has no idea who I am. She's just out there living her life, booking weddings, probably doing the same thing to other couples. The thought makes me sick. How many other grooms has she slept with? Is this a pattern? Or was Ethan special? My parents still don't know. I can't bear to tell them. They love Ethan. They were so happy when we got engaged. My dad cried walking me down the aisle. How do I tell them that the wedding they helped pay for, the day they were so proud of, was corrupted from the start? I've taken the week off work. I told my principal I have a family emergency, which isn't technically a lie. I've been spending my days alone in the apartment, looking at our life together with new eyes. Every gift he's given me, was he feeling guilty when he bought it? Every vacation we took, was he thinking about her? Every time we made love, was he comparing us? The worst moments are when I catch myself missing him, missing the version of him I thought I knew, missing the comfort of having someone to come home to, someone to share meals with, someone to curl up with on the couch. Then I remember that person never really existed, and the grief starts all over again.
Ethan wants to meet to talk.
His messages have gotten more desperate. He says he'll go to therapy, individual and couples. He says he'll be completely transparent with his phone, his location, his schedule. He says he'll cut off all contact with Sienna, though apparently he already has. He says he'll spend the rest of his life making this up to me. I don't know if that's possible. I don't know if I want it to be. Tomorrow I'm going to see a therapist. I found someone who specializes in infidelity and betrayal trauma. I need professional help processing this because I feel like I'm drowning. I also think I'm going to reach out to Sienna, not to confront her or cause drama, but because I need to hear her side. I need to understand what was going through her mind, how she justified this to herself, whether she feels any remorse. People have asked me in the comments what I'm going to do. Honestly, I don't know. Some days I think divorce is the only option. Some days I think maybe we could rebuild if he's truly remorsant and willing to do the work. Some days I swing wildly between both positions multiple times an hour. What I do know is this. I deserve better than what he gave me. I deserve a partner who chooses me consistently, not someone who keeps me comfortable while seeking excitement elsewhere. I deserve a marriage that isn't built on lies. Whether that means rebuilding with Ethan or starting over alone, I'm not sure yet. But I'm starting to realize that staying might be harder than leaving. And that realization scares me almost as much as the betrayal itself. I'll update again after I've talked to my therapist and figured out my next steps. Thank you again for all the support. Knowing I'm not alone in this helps more than you could know. Update 2. Posted 10 days after Update 1. I met with Sienna yesterday, and it was somehow worse than I imagined. But I also got answers I desperately needed, even though they've left me more broken than before. First, therapy has been helping. I've had 3 sessions so far with Dr. Patricia, and she's been invaluable in helping me process the trauma of discovering the affair. She helped me prepare for meeting with Sienna and gave me tools for managing my emotional responses. I needed that preparation because yesterday pushed me to my absolute limit. I reached out to Sienna through Instagram from my real account this time. I sent a simple message. I know about you and Ethan. I need to talk to you. Name the time and place. She read it immediately. 3 hours later, she responded, I'm so sorry you found out this way. I'll meet you anywhere you want. We agreed on a coffee shop in Berkeley, neutral territory. I got there early and sat in the back corner, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold my water glass. When she walked in, I felt a jolt of recognition and revulsion. She looked exactly like her photos. Petite, dark hair, stylish in that effortless way some women have. She was pretty.
Of course she was pretty.
She sat down across from me, and we just looked at each other for a moment. Finally, she said, I really am sorry. How long? I asked. No preamble, no small talk. From about 2 months before your wedding until roughly 8 months ago. On and off. So Ethan had told me the truth about the timeline at least. That was something. Tell me everything, I said. I need to know the whole story. From your perspective. She took a deep breath. Ethan and I met when you guys came in for your consultation. He was funny and charming, and we had this immediate connection. After the meeting, he asked if I wanted to grab a drink sometime to discuss his vision for the photos more. I thought it was professional networking. It was supposed to be professional, but it wasn't.
No.
We met for drinks, and we talked for hours. It felt like I'd known him forever. He mentioned that wedding planning was stressful, that he and you were arguing about details. He made it sound like there were issues in your relationship. What kind of issues? He said you'd grown apart. That the wedding planning had made things tense. That he wasn't sure you were on the same page about your future anymore. He never said he wanted to leave you, but he implied things weren't great. This matched what Ethan had told me. He'd misrepresented our relationship to justify what he was doing. Did he ever tell you he loved you? She hesitated, then nodded.
Yes.
Several times over the 2.5 years. But he always followed it up with how complicated everything was, how he had obligations, how he needed time to figure things out. He told you he loved you. I repeated, feeling the words like knives. He'd said he didn't love her, that it was just infatuation. More lies. I'm not proud of this, Sienna continued, her voice shaking slightly. I knew he was engaged, then married. I knew I was doing something terrible, but he made me feel special. He talked about art and philosophy and dreams. He took me to galleries and restaurants and made me feel seen in a way I hadn't felt before. While I was at home thinking I had a faithful husband. I know. I thought about you constantly. Every time I saw your wedding photos I took, I felt sick with guilt. But I'd convinced myself that if he was choosing to be with me, maybe his marriage wasn't what it appeared to be. Maybe he was unhappy. Maybe you didn't appreciate him the way I did. The rationalization of the other woman. I'd read about this, but hearing it in person was surreal. Tell me about the wedding day, I said. Her face crumpled slightly. We were already involved by then. The whole day was torture for me. Watching you be so happy, so in love, so completely unaware. Taking photos of your first kiss, your first dance, all these intimate moments, it felt wrong. I felt like a monster. Did you sleep with him that day?
No.
We kissed after the reception, after you'd gone to your suite. But that's all. He felt too guilty to do more on the actual day. How considerate of him. What about the photos I found? I asked. The ones that weren't part of our package. Why did you take those? Why did you give them to him? Some of them I took during the wedding because I couldn't help myself. He looked so handsome, and I was documenting someone I cared about. The others we took together later, over the course of our relationship. I gave them to him because I wanted him to have physical reminders of us, of what we shared. So, you were documenting your affair with my husband using the same professional skill set you used to document our wedding. That's deeply fucked up, Sienna. I know, she whispered. I know it is. Why did it end? Because I wanted more than he was willing to give. I thought eventually he'd leave you. He kept talking about timing, about waiting for the right moment, about not wanting to hurt you more than necessary. But the right moment never came. I finally realized he was never going to leave. He was happy having both of us, his stable wife at home, and his exciting girlfriend on the side. I hated that she called herself his girlfriend. Hated the casual possessiveness of it. So, you threatened to tell me.
Yes.
I told him if he didn't make a choice, I'd tell you everything. He chose you. He ended it immediately and begged me not to say anything. He said it would destroy you for no reason, since he was committed to making his marriage work. I was heartbroken, but I agreed to stay quiet. Until I found out anyway. I never wanted you to find out like this. If Ethan had been honest with you from the start, maybe we all could have avoided this mess. But he lied to both of us in different ways. I studied her face. She looked genuinely remorseful, but I couldn't tell if it was remorse for hurting me or remorse for losing Ethan, or just remorse for getting caught. Do you still love him? I asked. I don't know, she said honestly. I've been trying to move on. I've been seeing someone new, someone who's actually available. But Ethan was significant to me. What we had felt real, even though I know it was built on lies and betrayal. It was built on my lies and betrayal. I corrected. On my trust, my vows, my commitment. You didn't have a relationship with Ethan. You had a fantasy that I was paying for. She nodded, tears in her eyes now. You're right.
I'm sorry.
I know that doesn't fix anything, but I am truly sorry. Are my wedding photos still on your website?
Yes.
I can take them down if you want. I should have asked your permission anyway before featuring them so prominently. I want them down.
Today.
I don't want to be the poster child for your photography business when you were sleeping with my husband. Of course. I'll remove them as soon as I get home. Have you done this with other clients? I asked. Is seducing grooms part of your business model? No, she said quickly. Never. Ethan was the only one. I've never crossed that line before or since. I don't know what happened, why I let it happen. It was so out of character for me. I didn't know if I believed her, but it didn't really matter. I have one more question, I said. If you could go back and make a different choice, would you? She was quiet for a long time. I want to say yes. I want to say I'd walk away and leave you and Ethan to your marriage. But honestly, I don't know. What Ethan and I had, even though it was wrong, was real to me. Those feelings were real. If I could go back with the knowledge I have now, maybe. But in those moments with those feelings, I'm not sure I would have made different choices. At least she was honest. In a twisted way, I appreciated that more than false promises about what she would have done differently. We sat in silence for a minute. Finally, I stood up. Take down my photos. Don't contact Ethan again. And maybe consider what kind of person you want to be going forward, because right now, you're someone who helps destroy marriages. She nodded, wiping her eyes. For what it's worth, Ethan talked about you all the time. How smart you were, how good with people, how you were the best person he knew. I think he really does love you, even if he has a terrible way of showing it.
Don't, I said.
Don't try to make me feel better about my husband by telling me he praised me while he was cheating on me. That doesn't help. I'm sorry. You're right. I left the coffee shop feeling hollow. I'd gotten the answers I wanted, but they didn't make anything better. Sienna wasn't a monster. She was just a person who made selfish choices and convinced herself they were justified. Just like Ethan. I drove around for an hour after that meeting, not ready to go home. I ended up at the vineyard where we got married. I hadn't been back since our wedding day. It looked exactly the same. Rolling hills, perfect rows of grapevines, the same ceremony space where we'd said our vows. I walked to the spot where we'd stood 3 years ago. I could picture it so clearly. Ethan in his suit, looking at me with tears in his eyes as I walked down the aisle. My dad's arm around mine. The warm afternoon sun. The way Ethan's voice shook when he said his vows. Had any of it been real? Or was I just the audience for a performance? I called Ethan from the vineyard. He answered on the first ring. Can we meet?
I asked.
I just talked to Sienna, and I need to see you. We met at a park near our apartment. He looked terrible, unshaven, circles under his eyes, wearing the same shirt I'd seen him in 2 days ago. When he saw me, his face crumpled with relief and hope. Thank you for agreeing to see me, he said. I need you to know that I talked to Sienna today, I said without preamble. She told me everything. Her version, at least. His face went pale. What did she say? That you told her you loved her. Multiple times. You told me it was just infatuation, that you never loved her. That was a lie. He closed his eyes. Yes. I did tell her that. I'm sorry I lied to you about it. What else did you lie about? Nothing. Everything I told you is true, except that one thing. How can I possibly believe you? You've lied to me for 3 years. You lied to me on our wedding day. You lied to me every time you came home from seeing her. You looked me in the eye and lied over and over again. I know I did. And I hate myself for it. Did you love her? I asked, needing to hear it from him. He was quiet for a moment. I thought I did. In those moments, it felt like love. But looking back, I think it was just excitement and ego and escape. Real love is what I have with you. History and partnership and commitment. What I had with her was fantasy. You committed to me and then betrayed me for 2.5 years. So forgive me if I don't find that distinction meaningful. You're right. I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to be honest now, even though I know it's too late. I looked at him. This man I'd promised forever to. Sienna said you talked about me all the time. Told her how great I was. I did. You are. Then why wasn't I enough? If I'm so great, why did you need her? It wasn't about you not being enough. Don't give me that bullshit line. I snapped. Everyone says that. It wasn't about you. But it was about me, Ethan. You chose to betray me. You chose to prioritize your ego and excitement over our marriage. You chose her repeatedly for 2.5 years. Those were choices about me, about us, about what you were willing to destroy for a fantasy. He started crying. You're right. I made choices that hurt you. Unforgivable choices. I was selfish and cowardly, and I took you for granted. I thought I could have both lives, the stability and love with you, and the excitement with her. I didn't think about what it would do to you if you found out. Or maybe I just didn't let myself think about it. Did you ever think about leaving me for her? In weak moments, yes. But I never seriously planned it. You're my person. You've always been my person. I was your person you betrayed, I said. There's a difference. We sat in silence. A family walked by, parents with 2 young kids, laughing at something. That could have been us someday. That should have been us. What do you want from me? I finally asked. What outcome are you hoping for? I want to save our marriage. I want to go to therapy, rebuild trust, do whatever it takes. I know it will be hard and take years and maybe never fully heal. But I want to try. I love you. I choose you. I want to spend the rest of my life making this up to you. Why should I give you that chance? Why shouldn't I just divorce you and find someone who won't cheat on me? Because we have history. Because we built a life together. Because underneath all the mistakes I made, there's a real relationship worth fighting for. Because you loved me once and maybe, eventually, you could love me again. I thought about everything Dr. Patricia had told me in therapy. About how healing from infidelity was possible but required complete honesty, genuine remorse, and both partners willing to do the work. About how I needed to decide what I could live with and what I couldn't. I need time, I said. I need space to figure out what I want. You hurt me in ways I didn't know I could be hurt. You tainted every memory we have. You made me question everything about our relationship and about myself. I don't know if I can come back from that. I understand. Take whatever time you need. I'll wait. Don't wait for me, I said. Live your life.
Go to therapy.
Work on yourself. Figure out why you did this. But don't put your life on hold expecting me to forgive you, because I don't know if I will. Okay, he said quietly. I stood up to leave. Ethan? Yeah. Did you ever cheat on me before, Sienna? In college or grad school, before we got engaged?
No.
Never.
I swear.
She was the only one. I wanted to believe him. I didn't know if I could. I've spent the past few days since that conversation in a fog. I took Ethan's name off our joint bank account and moved half the money into an account in just my name. I consulted with a divorce attorney again. I looked at rental listings for 1-bedroom apartments. But I also found myself looking at our wedding album again. Not to torture myself this time, but to really look at the photos. And yes, there are images where Ethan seems distracted or distant. But there are also images where he looks at me with genuine love and happiness. Moments that feel real. I don't know which version is the truth. Maybe both. Maybe he did love me and also betray me. Maybe people are more complicated than we want them to be. My parents finally know. I told them yesterday. My mom cried. My dad wanted to drive to Ethan's parents' house and punch him. I had to talk him down. They're supportive of whatever I decide, but I can tell my mom hopes I'll try to work it out. She believes in marriage, in fighting for relationships, in forgiveness. I don't know what I believe anymore. Maya thinks I should divorce him. She says once trust is broken this badly, it can never be fully repaired. That I'll spend the rest of my marriage wondering and worrying and checking his phone. That I deserve better than a life of anxiety and suspicion. She might be right, but part of me remembers the man I married. The one who stayed up all night with me when I was sick. Who surprised me with flowers for no reason. Who made me laugh until I cried. Who I genuinely believed was my soulmate. Was that man real? Or was he always capable of this betrayal, and I just didn't see it? Dr. Patricia says I need to separate the person Ethan was from the actions he took. That people can do terrible things without being terrible people. That humans are complex and contradictory and capable of both great love and great harm. I'm trying to believe that. I'm trying to see this situation with nuance instead of in black and white. But it's hard when everything feels so raw. I checked Sienna's website. She took down all our wedding photos like she promised. Her portfolio now features different couples, different venues, different stories that hopefully don't involve her sleeping with the groom. I also blocked her on all social media. I don't need to see her life anymore. She's not my concern. She's not my villain. She's just another person who made bad choices that affected me. Tomorrow I'm supposed to decide whether to file for divorce or try couples counseling. My attorney has the papers ready. Dr. Patricia has referrals for marriage counselors who specialize in infidelity. Both paths are available to me. I still don't know which one to choose. Some days I wake up and think divorce is obvious. He cheated on me starting before our wedding and continuing for most of our marriage. He lied constantly. He told another woman he loved her. He let me believe in a marriage that was a lie. I should leave. Other days I think about the 6 years we had, the life we built, the person I thought he was. I think about whether people can change, whether mistakes can be forgiven, whether love can survive betrayal. I wonder if walking away means giving up too easily. I don't have an answer yet. I'm taking it one day at a time, trying to listen to my gut, trying to figure out what I can actually live with. What I do know is this: whatever I decide, it needs to be about what I want, not about what's easier or what other people think I should do. This is my life, my marriage, my decision. I'll update again once I've made a choice. Thank you all for the continued support and advice. Reading your stories and perspectives has helped me feel less alone in this nightmare. Update 3. Posted 3 weeks after Update 2. I've made my decision. After weeks of agonizing, therapy, and soul-searching, I know what I need to do. It's not the decision I thought I'd make, and it's not what everyone in my life agrees with, but it's mine. I'm going to try to save my marriage. Before anyone jumps down my throat in the comments, please hear me out. This wasn't a decision I made lightly or out of weakness. It's actually the hardest choice I've ever made, and it's going to require more strength than walking away would. Here's how I got here. After my last update, I spent a week completely alone. I asked everyone, Ethan, my parents, Maya, everyone, to give me space. I needed to hear my own thoughts without anyone else's opinions drowning them out. I spent that week doing things that felt impossible. I read our old text messages from when we were dating. I watched videos from our engagement. I looked through our wedding album without the filter of betrayal, trying to see what was actually there versus what I now knew was happening. And I realized something. The relationship I thought we had wasn't completely fake. Yes, Ethan was cheating. Yes, he was lying. But the moments we shared, the connection we had, the love I felt, those were real on my end. And I believe they were at least partially real on his end too. That doesn't excuse what he did. Not even close. But it means something to me that our entire relationship wasn't a performance. I also thought hard about what I wanted my life to look like. Did I want to be divorced at 29? Did I want to start over, date again, try to find someone new while carrying all this trauma? Did I want to throw away 6 years with someone I genuinely loved because of the terrible choices he made? The answer kept coming back. I didn't want to.
Not yet.
Not without trying everything possible to fix this first. Dr. Patricia helped me understand that staying doesn't mean I'm weak or that I'm accepting the betrayal. It means I'm choosing to see if healing is possible. She also made it clear that I can always choose to leave later if therapy doesn't work or if I realize I can't move past this. So I called Ethan and told him I was willing to try couples counseling. The relief and hope in his voice was palpable, but I made it clear that this wasn't forgiveness. This was a trial period. He was on probation in our marriage. I laid out my conditions. Complete transparency. I get access to his phone, email, social media, location at all times. No passwords I don't know. No secret accounts. Individual therapy for him to figure out why he did this and how to fix whatever is broken inside him that made this possible. Couples therapy twice a week initially, dropping to once a week after a few months if we're making progress, and no contact with Sienna ever again, under any circumstances. If she reaches out, he tells me immediately at a post-nuptial agreement that heavily favors me in case of divorce, especially if he cheats again. Time. I don't have a timeline for when I'll trust him again, or when things will feel normal. He doesn't get to rush me or complain that I'm not healing fast enough. Honest answers to any question I ask, no matter how painful or repetitive. If I need to ask the same thing 50 times, he answers 50 times without getting defensive. He agreed to everything immediately. We found a marriage counselor who specializes in affair recovery, Dr. Marcus, and had our first session 4 days ago. It was brutal. Dr. Marcus didn't sugarcoat anything. He told us that staying together after infidelity is harder than divorcing, that most couples who try don't make it, and that we were facing years of difficult work. He said we both needed to be fully committed, or it wouldn't work. Ethan broke down in that first session. Really broke down in a way I hadn't seen before. He talked about how he'd compartmentalized everything, how he'd convinced himself that what I didn't know wouldn't hurt me, how he'd been living in denial about the damage he was causing. He talked about his own issues, feeling like he peaked in his early 20s and was now just going through the motions of adult life. Feeling trapped by responsibilities. Feeling like he was becoming boring and invisible. Sienna made him feel exciting and interesting again, like he wasn't just another tech bro with a mortgage. None of this excuses what he did, but it helped me understand the mindset. He wasn't a cartoon villain twirling his mustache and laughing about deceiving me. He was a weak person who made selfish choices and lied to himself about the consequences. Dr. Marcus asked me what I needed from Ethan to even consider staying. I told him about the wedding photos, about how every memory feels tainted now. I said I needed Ethan to help me create new memories, ones that belonged only to us, without Sienna's shadow. Ethan's homework from that session was to write me a letter explaining exactly why he cheated, what he was thinking at each stage, and what he's doing to make sure it never happens again. No excuses, just honesty. He gave me that letter 2 days ago. It was 15 pages long, handwritten, and reading it broke my heart all over again. But it also gave me something I needed, a window into what he was actually thinking during those 2.5 years. Some excerpts, with his permission to share. The first time I kissed Sienna, 2 months before our wedding, I told myself it was a one-time mistake. I felt terrible afterward and planned to confess to you. But then I imagined your face when you found out, imagined the wedding being called off, imagined losing you. I couldn't do it. So I told myself it wouldn't happen again, and I'd just carry that guilt forever. But then it did happen again. And again. And each time it got easier to rationalize. I created 2 separate versions of reality in my head. In one, I was your loving fiancé and then husband, committed to our life together. In the other, I was Sienna's exciting boyfriend, the guy who could still be spontaneous and fun. I never let these realities touch each other. When I was with you, I was fully present and genuinely happy. When I was with her, you didn't exist. It was compartmentalization at its most extreme and most damaging. The worst part is that I loved you the entire time. I know that doesn't make sense. I know it sounds impossible, but I did. I loved coming home to you. I loved our life together. I loved who I was when I was with you, stable, responsible, mature. But I also craved the version of myself I was with Sienna, reckless, young, free from obligations. I wanted both lives, both identities. I was too cowardly to choose. Every time I took off my wedding ring before seeing her, I told myself it was the last time. Every lie I told you, I hated myself for it. But I kept doing it anyway because the short-term pleasure was stronger than my long-term values. I was weak and selfish, and I prioritized my own gratification over your well-being. Reading that letter, I felt angry and sad and strangely relieved. Angry because his weakness had caused so much damage. Sad because I could see how lost he'd been. Relieved because it confirmed that he did love me, even while betraying me. It didn't excuse anything, but it made the possibility of healing feel less impossible. Ethan moved back into our apartment last week, but he's sleeping in the guest room. We're living together, but not as a couple yet. We're roommates who happen to be married and working on our relationship. It's awkward and painful. We have dinner together most nights and talk about our days. We're both being excessively polite to each other. We haven't been physically intimate at all. The thought still makes me feel sick. Dr. Marcus says physical reconnection will come much later, if at all, and that I shouldn't force it. I've had moments of intense regret about this decision. 3 days ago, I found myself crying in the bathroom at 2 a.m., wondering what the hell I was doing. Wondering if I was just delaying the inevitable divorce. Wondering if I was being a fool, but I've also had moments of hope. Yesterday, Ethan made dinner, my favorite meal, without me asking. It was a small thing, but it reminded me of who he used to be before everything fell apart. We ate together and talked about a book I was reading, and for 30 minutes it almost felt normal that I told Maya about my decision. She's worried about me, but supportive. She said, "I don't agree with this choice, but I respect that it's yours to make. Just promise me you'll leave if it's not working, okay? Don't waste years trying to fix something that's too broken." I promised her I wouldn't. I have limits. If Ethan shows any sign of lying again, if he contacts Sienna, if I find out there are more secrets, I'm done immediately. If after 6 months of therapy, I still can't imagine trusting him again, I'm done. This isn't an indefinite commitment, it's a trial period. My parents are cautiously optimistic. My mom especially seems relieved that we're trying to work it out. My dad is more skeptical, but said he'd support whatever I decided. I know a lot of people reading this will think I'm making a mistake. That once a cheater, always a cheater. That I'm setting myself up for more heartbreak. And maybe you're right. Maybe in 6 months or a year, I'll be back here posting about how it didn't work and I should have listened. But I need to know I tried everything before I walk away from 6 years and a person I genuinely love. I need to be able to look back and know I gave it every possible chance. Otherwise, I'll always wonder, what if? Dr. Marcus gave us both homework this week. Mine is to write down every question I have about the affair, even the painful ones, and ask Ethan to answer them all in our next session. His is to identify the triggers and thought patterns that led to his infidelity and develop strategies for managing them. We're also starting a practice where every evening we each share 3 things: something we're grateful for, something we're struggling with, and something we need from each other. It's forced vulnerability, but Dr. Marcus says it's important for rebuilding emotional connection. Last night's sharing. Ethan's gratitude. That you're giving me this chance. Ethan's struggle. Hating myself for what I did to you. Ethan's need. Patience, while I work on becoming someone worthy of your trust again. My gratitude. For the clarity I'm starting to feel about what I want. My struggle. Seeing our wedding photos and not immediately feeling pain. My need. Space to have bad days without you taking it personally. It's hard and awkward, and sometimes excruciating. But it's also honest in a way our relationship hasn't been in years. I don't know if this will work. I don't know if in 6 months I'll feel better or worse about this decision. I don't know if Ethan and I will heal together, or if we're just prolonging the inevitable end. What I do know is that I'm choosing this path consciously and deliberately. I'm not staying out of fear or convenience or desperation. I'm staying because I want to see if repair is possible. And if it's not, I'll leave knowing I tried everything. That's enough for now. I'll update again in a few months once we've made more progress, or once I've decided this isn't working. Thank you for all the support, even those of you who disagree with my choice. I hear you and I appreciate you caring about my well-being. Update 4, final update, posted 5 months after update 3. This will be my last update. 5 months have passed since I decided to try to save my marriage, and I finally have clarity about where things stand and where they're going. I'm staying with Ethan. We're going to make this work. I know that's not the dramatic revelation some of you were hoping for. No explosive discovery of new lies. No triumphant divorce announcement. Just 2 broken people who are slowly, painfully rebuilding something real from the ruins of what we had. The past 5 months have been the hardest of my life. Harder than discovering the affair, harder than the initial devastation, harder than anything I could have imagined. Healing from betrayal isn't linear or clean or satisfying. It's messy and frustrating and full of setbacks. We've been in couples therapy twice a week this entire time. Ethan has been in individual therapy weekly. I've continued my own therapy as well. We've spent thousands of dollars and countless hours sitting in uncomfortable chairs talking about painful things. Some sessions have been productive. We've learned communication tools, identified unhealthy patterns, worked on rebuilding trust incrementally. Dr. Marcus has been challenging and direct in ways we both needed. Other sessions have been disasters. I've screamed at Ethan in the therapist's office. I've broken down crying so hard I couldn't breathe. I've said cruel things I couldn't take back. Ethan has gotten defensive, then worked through his defensiveness, then had breakthroughs, then regressed. It's been 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, over and over. There have been specific milestones along the way. Month 1. I went through Ethan's phone one night and found nothing suspicious. I did this randomly, without warning, and he handed it over without hesitation. That was the first moment I thought maybe this could actually work. Not because the phone was clean, but because he didn't panic or resist or make excuses. He just gave it to me and waited patiently while I looked through everything. Month 2. We had our first real fight about something unrelated to the affair. We argued about whose turn it was to clean the bathroom, of all things. It sounds stupid, but it felt monumental. We were having a normal couple argument instead of everything being about the betrayal. We actually laughed about it afterward, surprised that we could fight about mundane things again. Month 3. I had a panic attack when Ethan was 20 minutes late coming home from work. I called him 17 times. When he finally answered, I was convinced he'd been with Sienna or someone else. Turned out he'd been stuck in traffic, and his phone was in his bag. He drove straight home, showed me the traffic report, held me while I cried, and never once got frustrated with my paranoia. That patience, that understanding that he caused this anxiety and had to live with the consequences, meant everything. Month 4. We were intimate for the first time since I found out. It was awkward and emotional, and I cried halfway through. But it also felt like reclaiming something that had been taken from me. Like saying, this is ours, not yours and hers. Ethan was patient and gentle and completely focused on me. Afterward, we talked for hours about what it meant and whether I was ready. Dr. Marcus helped us process it in our next session. Month 5. We went back to the vineyard where we got married. This was my idea, and Dr. Marcus thought it was a good step in reclaiming our memories. We walked through the ceremony space, had lunch at the restaurant, talked about our wedding day honestly for the first time. Ethan told me which moments with Sienna he remembered from that day, and which moments were purely about us. It was brutal to hear, but it also helped me separate the tainted memories from the real ones. We ended up renewing our vows to each other, not a ceremony, just the two of us speaking new promises. Promises about honesty, transparency, choosing each other consciously every day. The hardest part has been accepting that some things are permanently changed. I will never look at our original wedding photos the same way. I will never fully trust Ethan in the unconscious way I did before. There will always be a small voice in the back of my mind that wonders and worries. But Dr. Marcus helped me understand that maybe that's not entirely bad. Maybe blind trust is actually naive. Maybe conscious trust, the kind where you choose to believe someone while remaining aware that people are fallible, is more mature and sustainable. I've also had to accept my own role in the marriage's problems. Not my role in Ethan's decision to cheat, that was 100% his choice and his responsibility. But my role in letting our relationship become stagnant. In taking Ethan for granted. In stopping seeing him as a whole person with needs and fears and insecurities. I'd stopped asking how he was really doing, stopped being curious about his inner life, stopped prioritizing our connection. Again, none of that excuses the affair. But it does mean I had work to do too. I had to learn to be a better partner, to communicate my needs clearly, to pay attention to the health of our relationship instead of assuming it would just continue on autopilot. Ethan has changed in visible ways. He's more present, more emotionally available, more willing to be vulnerable. He shares his feelings now instead of bottling them up until they explode sideways into destructive behavior. He checks in with me multiple times a day, not because I require it, but because he wants to. He's become someone who actively works on our relationship instead of passively coasting through it. He's also deeply remorseful in a way that feels genuine. He doesn't just say he's sorry, he demonstrates it through actions. He's read books about infidelity and affair recovery. He's done exercises to understand his triggers and patterns. He's worked to become someone worthy of trust again. Is he perfect?
No.
He still has moments of defensiveness when we discuss the affair. He still gets frustrated sometimes when I have bad days or ask repetitive questions. But he works through those feelings instead of letting them control his behavior. That's growth. As for me, I've changed too. I'm stronger than I was before. More assertive. More aware of my own worth. less willing to accept behavior that doesn't align with my values, more demanding of the respect and honesty I deserve. I've also become more compassionate, not just toward Ethan, but toward the complexity of human nature. People can love someone and still hurt them. People can make terrible choices without being terrible people. People can change and grow and become better versions of themselves. My relationship with Maya is different now. She's still my best friend, but she doesn't fully understand my choice to stay. There's a distance between us that wasn't there before. She thinks I'm settling or making excuses for Ethan. I think she's judging me without understanding what I actually want for my life. We're working through it, but it's been hard. My parents are relieved. My mom especially has been supportive and encouraging. She's shared stories about rough patches in her own marriage that I never knew about. It's helped me see that long-term relationships are rarely the smooth, uncomplicated love stories we pretend they are. I haven't had any contact with Sienna since our coffee shop meeting. Ethan showed me that she texted him twice in the past 5 months, once asking how he was, once saying she missed him. He didn't respond to either message and showed them to me immediately. I appreciated the transparency, even though seeing her name on his phone made my stomach turn. I sometimes wonder about her. If she thinks about me. If she regrets what happened. If she's still using other couples' wedding photos to build her business. I hope she's learned something from this experience, but I don't really care either way. She's not part of my life anymore. The biggest question I've grappled with is, have I forgiven Ethan? The answer is complicated. I've forgiven him in the sense that I don't want revenge or to punish him. I've forgiven him in the sense that I'm actively choosing to move forward together. But I haven't forgiven him in the sense that everything is forgotten or that it doesn't matter anymore. Dr. Marcus says forgiveness isn't a single moment or decision, it's a process. Some days I feel forgiving. Other days I feel angry all over again. Both are okay. Both are part of healing. I've also had to forgive myself for not seeing the signs earlier, for doubting my own instincts, for all the ways I've been hard on myself about this situation. None of it was my fault, but I still carried unnecessary guilt and shame. So where do we go from here? We're staying in Oakland. We're staying in couples therapy, though we've dropped to once a week. We're planning a trip to Japan next year, somewhere neither of us has been, new memories with no contamination from the past. We're talking about kids again, though we agreed to wait at least another year. Dr. Marcus thinks that's wise. I need to be sure I want to bring children into this marriage, into this version of us, before we take that step. We've also made changes to our daily life. We have a weekly date night that's non-negotiable. We check in with each other every morning and evening about how we're feeling. We've established clear boundaries about transparency and honesty. We have a plan for what happens if either of us feels our connection weakening. We address it immediately instead of letting it fester. Most importantly, we've both committed to choosing each other consciously every single day. Not just coasting on the momentum of being married, but actively deciding that this is the relationship and the person we want. Some days that choice is easy. Some days it's the hardest thing I've ever done. To everyone who's been following this story, thank you. Your support, advice, tough love, and shared experiences have meant more than I can express. I've read every comment, even the ones telling me I'm making a mistake. I've considered all the perspectives and ultimately made the choice that felt right for me. For those going through something similar, I can't tell you what to do. Every situation is different. Every person's boundaries and needs are different. Some relationships can be repaired after infidelity. Others can't and shouldn't be. Only you know which category yours falls into. What I can tell you is this. Whatever you choose, make sure it's actually your choice. Not what others expect of you, not the path of least resistance, not what you think you should do. Choose the path that aligns with your values and your vision for your life, even if it's hard. If that means staying and fighting for your relationship, do that fully and without apology. If it means leaving and starting over, do that with your head held high. Either way, you're not weak or stupid or naive. You're a person dealing with an impossibly difficult situation and doing your best. For me, staying was the right choice. Not because it was easy or because I think Ethan deserves it, but because this is the life I want to build. This is the relationship I want to fight for. This is the person I choose, scars and all. Our story doesn't have a neat ending. We're not fixed or back to normal. We're different people in a different marriage than we had before. But maybe that's okay. Maybe the new marriage we're building, one based on radical honesty and conscious choice, will be stronger than the old one that was based on assumptions and complacency. I don't know what the future holds. Maybe we'll make it to our 50th anniversary and look back on this as the crisis that made us stronger. Maybe in 2 years I'll be back here posting about how I should have left when I had the chance. But right now, in this moment, I'm choosing this. I'm choosing him. I'm choosing us. And that's enough. To everyone who's been on this journey with me, thank you for witnessing my story. I hope you find peace and happiness in your own lives, whatever that looks like for you. This is my final update. I'm closing this chapter and moving forward with my life. I wish you all the very best.